Welcome, LA Progressive friends and family. This is Sharon Kyle here, publisher of the LA Progressive. And I'm having a seat and chatting with Angela Gonzalez-Torres, who is running to represent California's 34th Congressional District. And I was just telling Angela that I was doing a little research on her and actually have been following her for a little while, right before the primary election, because not only am I the publisher of the LA Progressive, but she would, if she wins, she would actually be my congresswoman. So, Angela, thank you for joining us. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, I'm so excited. Yes, I've been following your work for a long time as a student at Pasadena City College and UCLA, and now as a candidate for Congress.
Right. So you've been a lifelong Angelino and an advocate, boots on the ground, equity and justice, and you've pursued higher education, and you're a progressive candidate. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your campaign, what motivated you to throw your hat in, and why now? Why at this time?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the start of this campaign really, bloomed out of our students at Pasadena City College and the Great Cal State LA, which I explained, is in the district where my mom went and graduated, and Occidental College students, as well as myself when I was just graduating from UCLA. We all started talking about that student movement that's, been growing out of all anti-war sentiments for generations. And we really felt that those that were exiting cycles of incarceration were getting politically motivated. And it was an exciting time, despite being a very dark time when the Trump administration was just reelected. These students that I was around and working alongside have largely been hurt the most by this system of family separation systems, yet had the most hope that we can change it or be part of the positive change. And so we decided to throw our name in the hat for this seat in particular, just because I think we could foresee that the federal government would be weaponized against us, and Congress is something that seems so distant, yet really impacts the lives of all of us. So we're proud to have made the top two and are now on our way to the general election.
Excellent, excellent. So let's talk a little bit about your background. So we've already established that you're a lifelong Angelino and you're from the district.
Yeah.
And for those who are unfamiliar, the district that we're referring to is Congressional District 34, which is in the northeast section of the city of Los Angeles. And the area where you have spent all of your life is Highland Park, which, it's called Highland Park, but it is within the city of Los Angeles. I'm originally from New York. And when I tell people I'm from the Bronx, they don't know, well, the Bronx is a part of New York City and Highland Park is a part of the city of Los Angeles.
Yes. So close to Pasadena for those that are more familiar with that. But the district ranges from unincorporated parts of East LA, which is in the news every day right now. This is important because federal representation is their only representation, really. But the district also expands out to Koreatown, Chinatown, Little Tokyo, downtown, all the way to Westlake Pico Union, up, Eagle Rock and Glass Hill and Cypress Park as well. So it's an incredible district. Even if you don't live in CA 34, California's 34th district, I'm sure everyone has spent time here or often,
I love the district.
Through. Isn't it the best?
I know. It might be the most diverse district.
Yes, it is one of, yes.
I mean, just
and not
seems like everybody in the world lives here.
Yeah, exactly. I know, little Bangladesh, Koreatown. I honestly, this is my favorite part about running for Congress is that though I'm fifth generation Angelino and lifelong Angelino, I feel like I get to see parts of the district I probably wouldn't have before. And so I'm spending a lot of time in Skid Row, which I've done before, but just now through a different lens. And also, there's Herman, that's like was partly, kind of combined into Highland Park before, and now they're really creating their own identity as a neighborhood frog town. It's just an incredible district, not only diverse in the sense of the largest immigrant population in the country or one of, but also young. We have a lot of college campuses in and around the district. And it's predominantly woman and Latino. And so it's just an incredible time to be engaging people to vote and to make their voices heard right now.
Great, great. And you're right. I mean, so there's age diversity, there's ethnic diversity, there's racial diversity. And yet you have been very involved in community advocacy, neighborhood leadership, student counseling. So you've been able to build up some community credibility and experience with affected populations and some coalition and advocacy building and experience. Can you talk to us a little bit about the housing situation in this particular part of Northeast Los Angeles, displacement, any institutional barriers? Talk to us about your understanding of what is the housing situation.
Right. I think working with system impacted individuals, mostly those working to overcome recidivism, cycles of incarceration through education, housing instability is the number one issue. I also work at promoting permanent affordable housing for seniors because seniors are the largest demographic facing homelessness, living in RVs, living in transitional homes, bouncing around. And I think that we can tell a lot about our society by how we treat our working families and our youth and our elders. What we need to do is bring a research focus and community informed approach to policy. We have a lot of great partners, some coalition partners to our campaign included, across the district doing incredible work. I think we have all of the answers. We just need to make sure we're addressing root causes to these issues. And one of those things in California, despite being, the richest city in the richest state in the richest country, we do have an incredible wealth disparity. And so we need to look at the annual median income index. So affordability properly reflects poverty at the rate that it is so that we know what is truly affordable to people. And we also need to fight for federal funding for these programs that truly save lives and change people's lives. And I've been part of the Project Rebound program and network for years, and just giving someone housing support gets them through school. 2 years of school allows them to achieve upward mobility and contribute, to our communities. It's really incredible. So we just need more of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Can you give us like an example of what Project Rebound, through your work, was able to accomplish? A personal, you don't have to give anybody's name, but a story of how did the project impact someone's life?
Yeah, and that's actually such a great question because we did perform the best in the primary that the district has been able to see. And there's so many DC insiders and political consultants trying to crack this code. And the code is community. Word of mouth travels so far in the district. Everyone knows someone who's been helped by this network of rising scholars, Project Rebound, success stories, and part of it is looking at some, again, of those generational traumas that lead to substance abuse or domestic violence situations, or the stigma around receiving or seeking mental health services in our communities. And so I think that we've been able to change a lot of that stigma in short periods of time by just inviting people in first, to check it out. Like, we have great partners in all of those areas that we've been able to just have sort of a reverse school to prison pipeline, but rather, bringing people back into their community, bringing them home, and just leading with care. I've seen what happens when we can invest with care. And so I think that sometimes you do have to move at the speed of trust, and it takes time. And we've been able to, my dad was deported over 10 years ago, but people's fathers are still, or parents are still being separated from their families. And there's a family here in Highland Park that that we've been able to just provide like that mentorship as someone who experienced that myself to the younger girls going through that now. And it's just the power of people standing with each other, and healing through healing others. And I think knowledge is power, right? So just inviting people in as non-traditional students to come back to school, get their GED, regardless of how old they are, and moving with them, and it's been, I can talk about this all day, obviously, so I'll just end it there, but it's an incredible program with Anti-Recidivism Coalition too. Like there's other groups that are directly involved in policy, but it's the storytelling that really carries those.
Absolutely. So, I've been around for a while, and one thing I have noticed that just doesn't seem to fail, with a few exceptions, most people that are running for office that I have either gotten to know sort of tangentially or have interviewed, they generally become absorbed by the institution and gradually lose contact with the community. What about you, your lived experience, your commitment to community? How will you be different if you win?
Right. I mean, yes, first of all, I do want to acknowledge that too. I had to have a conversation with even my family, right? We've experienced the deportation of my father after he served this country and is a veteran, and like many other moms that become single moms seemingly overnight. My mom became one of 4 daughters. We get no assistance from the government, really. No one reaches out to say, how can we help make sure, we fill in those gaps so you all don't end up on the street, which we had to live in our car. That story is so common. And so I think there's like a really understandable distrust in our government that I know firsthand. And I think that maybe that's utilized to the political establishment's advantage, by expecting no one to turn out to vote, right? And so we've had to have those conversations in a community that's a story is very common. I think the difference is you start now and you can be impeccable with your word while you're campaigning. A lot of our volunteers, one of our lead volunteers is my high school teacher turned, friend. Another are everyone I went to elementary school with, truthfully, that my LA's best mentors, because it's time for us, and it's up to us. And so I think that I feel like we've been having those conversations. So I voted for the incumbent, my opponent now, the first time. We believed he would be able to represent us. And, unfortunately, there is seemingly just a large force, like you said, but that's why we're working with particularly other women of color that have just won their primaries in Colorado, New York, Sacramento. My California Working Families Party Justice Democrats colleague, Mai Vang, was just here, as well as Jamal Bowman. Like it's possible to do it when you're not alone. And
No,
so
I didn't know that Jamal Bowman was here. If I still lived in New York, he would have been my representative.
No.
Yeah, that's where I lived.
Well, the APAC influence is so interesting to like try to understand in such a short time. So that's history, him helping us out because he knows it's possible. And if we can win here in LA up against corporate money, the progressive will be a clearer definition across the country, and we'll be able to stand up to, the oligarchs and the corporations. That's so funny. That's such a small world. He's incredible to spend time with. He would have been a great rep for you today.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll interview him at some other time.
You should. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to do that. So, you spoke a little bit about the incumbent. What would you say that he's failed to accomplish that you believe that you could accomplish? And what is your concrete plan for doing it differently?
Yes, and I'm very aware. I'm talking to people more and more these days that have supported him in the past too. Like I said, our family voted for him the first time, and I think the main difference is it's just time for change. We need to make sure we're prioritizing Angelinos and I can't emphasize enough how much it means to me that we have one of the largest jail systems on the face of the planet in this district, as well as, vacant homes and something like Skid Row, which I've been organizing down there for over 10 years. It's never looked like it does today. Whole families and children are intense. And I'm so grateful for the mutual aid coalition that we have. It's not enough. And it's inappropriate that we have such big policy failures that treat human beings like that. And so I think the main difference is the urgency of this moment that we just are not seeing met right now. And thus lives are on the line. I feel very passionately about investing in our communities rather than in crimes against humanity, genocide, atrocities abroad. But I also feel very passionately about our funding safe, fully funded schools, and I've been trying to organize with his office around that issue because we have a lot of schools closing. Teachers are forced to get a second, third job. And so I think the things we're fighting for are bare minimum. And it's possible our concrete plan is to continue to build on this multicultural, multi-generational coalition that is capable of winning this seat and delivering us those bare minimums, which is housing, healthcare, education, and justice right now. And that's just hard to do when you take the same donations from those funding this Trump terror. And it's impossible to do, certainly when you're stressed about being under investigation by the ethics committee, So I think we need to pivot and pivot fast because it's inappropriate that we're even in this position in the first place of having this guy in this presidency that's truthfully robbing Americans of our tax dollars, and they're disappearing and killing people in our streets. And so I really feel the urgency of that moment. And I think Angelenos do as well, which is why we were able to get 36,000 votes, which is wild, and able to build on that in our path to victory.
Yeah. So at the end of your first term, what 3 measurable results should voters use to decide whether you deserve re-election?
Yes. Yep, we will have in-person town halls, which is something we have not had in over a decade. People will not be screened before, questions will not be pre-planned. We should have open dialogue. And this is going to be a community-informed office because it's already a community-informed campaign. It's student-led because even high schoolers, though they can't vote, will have to live with the consequences of our choices. I think the top 3 things we plan to do in office immediately within our first 100 days is take on super PACs. We need to abolish super PACs. There's already efforts to do that because it'll balance the playing field and working families will actually have a fighting chance. I think working candidates like myself as well will have a chance. And it's really about setting up the next generation of leaders. And I think we need to sign on to block the bombs and stand with 70% of voters across the district that are saying we want, if anything, our tax dollars to be invested in humanitarian aid and healing versus more destruction. We're feeling it with this heat wave here in Los Angeles. The consequences are great. And I think the third is just taking on the price gouging in our grocery stores, which is not that big of a talking issue, but that way people don't have to think about fighting for, rent or food, which is something I'm experiencing too with the rising cost of living that's really getting in the way of people living their lives. So those 3 things will just fundamentally improve the lives of so many Californians, let alone Angelenos. And we've been funding the rest of the country as, taxpayers. And I think it's time that we put ourselves first right now too, to make sure that we have a sustainable working class that can keep this country running. But right now people are not doing well, and so those 3 things are identified right now as our top 3 priorities.
Well, Angela Gonzalez-Torres, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I look forward to hearing some more good things over the next few months. November 3rd is a big day.
Yes.
For people who want to learn more about your campaign, where do they go?
AngelaForCongress.com is our website. We also can be reached at team@angelaforcongress.com, which is an email we check regularly.
Great. Well,
So
Angela,
good
I
to
wish
see
you the
you.
best of luck. It's good to see you. And we'll be staying in touch. And of course, we'll be keeping the LA Progressive community abreast of any changes. And we really appreciate you visiting with us today.
Appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
So long. Thank you for sticking around. If you like the LA Progressive content and the discussions we have here, please consider clicking the subscribe button below and also give us a thumbs up. That helps to grow our audience by feeding the algorithm, which helps to get this content in front of more eyes. Thanks for stopping by. We really appreciate your support.